what the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, I just wanted to play a little clip here because I think perhaps this will be a good way to lead into the Francois Legault story. Here you go.
So long, it's been good to know you. So long,
yes.
It's been good to know you.
So long. That, according to the latest poll we have seen, suggests that Quebecers have had pretty much enough of Francois Legault. So, Jim, what do you make of this?
Yeah, but that's just your cockeyed optimism pouring into that song there, Aaron, because he's not going anywhere.
Yet.
We're stuck with this guy and his bunch of losers until at least October 2026. And here's the problem. I heard you talking in the last half hour. Well, these are interesting times to be living in. Yeah, they are. It's like living in bizarro world is what's happening, okay? The most detested politician in Quebec right now is the guy in charge. The most detested party in Quebec right now is the party that he leads, the Coalition Avenir Quebec. But wait, there's more. They happen to hold 86 of the 125 seats in the National Assembly. The Quebec Liberal Party, meanwhile, the official opposition with all of 19 seats, is in fact a kind of, how can I put it, a neighborhood party. It's really the Quebec Liberal Party of the West Island of Montreal. But don't let that stop you. Quebec Solidaire, 12 seats, is kind of like this kind of, when we grow up, we want to be like the PQ, except we don't really want to be like the PQ. The Parti Québécois, the most popular party in Quebec right now, holds all of 4 seats. Stop me before I jump off a bridge. It's total chaos, Aaron. It's absolute chaos. And we're giving the kind of weight to things that are said by Faustin Pierre Plamondon, the head of the PQ, that we would give to someone who's leading a government, except he isn't. His entire party could be transported around in an Uber. This is where we are, and yet we are in one of the most difficult periods that this province is facing. Major deficit. We are trying to, essentially some would say privatize healthcare in this province. The economic outlook for everybody just stinks. Oh, yes, and we have another year before the election is held. God help us all, Aaron. I have never seen anything like this in my life, okay? And quite frankly, I look around and I'm saying, okay, it would be okay if A, B, and C happen. There ain't no A, B, and C. The alphabet basically got flushed on this, and Quebec politics right now is just one version of chaos after another. When is it going to end? I have no idea. But quite frankly, I don't think you will find anywhere in Quebec political history where a government so reviled, a leader of a government so reviled, remained so clearly and utterly in charge, at least for another year.
So to your point, yeah, it is another year. Well, it's actually closer to another year and a half, I guess, right? We're talking 2026 for a provincial election. Yeah. So the question then becomes, a political party like the opposition looks at a poll like this and says, wow, as bad as we saw things have been going, and they have been going poorly, right? The PQ has been gaining at the CAQ's, failure. Yeah. What do you do if you're that party who is about to have a leadership convention to pick a leader for your party? This seems like a perfect opportunity for them to go after the CAQ. It just, it would be great if they could do it now, not in 6 months from now.
Well, exactly. The idea is to turn around and look at the arrogant, we're the smartest people in the room brain trust, which is driving the Quebec Liberal Party off a cliff, telling them to go plunge straight to hell, having your leadership contest, the sooner the better, when people are paying attention, because there is a sense of urgency here. If you want to tell me, Quebec Liberal Party, don't worry. We have plenty of time. And people turning around saying, well, don't worry. We got Pablo Rodriguez. I said it before, and I'll say it again. And I mean this with all due respect to Mr. Rodriguez. I don't think the constituency of Quebec is quite ready to vote for a guy named Pablo Rodriguez as its premier. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Events will prove it one way or another. But right now, I don't think you're in any kind of position to be telling anybody that, oh, no, don't worry. We have this under control. No, you don't. And in fact, the Quebec Liberal Party right now, as far as I'm concerned, is sitting on the cusp of, they're at a crossroads, Aaron. One road leads to absolute oblivion, and the other leads to irrelevance. And that seems to be the only choice they have right now.
So let's move from provincial politics to federal politics. We talked with Colton Prale about the meeting that Justin Trudeau managed to get with Donald Trump. First of the G7 leaders, by the way, to get a meeting. It's kind of hard if you're I heard Pierre Poilievre today trying to say, you know what, just a sign of weakness and whatever else. Clearly, this is a coup for Justin Trudeau, is it not?
How so?
Well, he got the meeting. He got to sit down. He got to talk to the guy before anybody else did. That in and of itself, to me, seems like a win.
He has exactly as much in his hands as the president of Mexico as anybody else. As far as I can tell, I'm going to sound terrible here, Aaron, but I think in terms of Justin Trudeau's scale of success, he's coming back from Mar-a-Lago with a selfie. And quite frankly, I cringed when I saw that picture. I don't know if our listeners have seen it. I don't know if it's posted at CJAD.com. It should be. But as far as I'm concerned, that is not a picture of a guy pulling off a political coup. As far as I'm concerned, for those of our listeners, myself included, who like to watch or who did like to watch Game of Thrones, that is bending the knee, end of story. And quite frankly, Justin Trudeau is going to be lucky if Donald Trump actually even remembers that dinner by Tuesday morning. But that's a story for another day. But the bottom line here is, and I was listening to you in the last half hour, talking to your correspondent, what a great time when we should be showing solidarity. When the president of Mexico turned around and says, "You want to have a trade war? Fine. You hit us with tariffs, we'll hit you right back." At that time, this is when we basically turn our backs on Mexico and turn around and say, no, don't worry, we're on the inside track. I got news for you. It's not impossible that in the next few months, Aaron, you're going to hear me use the expression outsmarted by Donald Trump in the context of Justin Trudeau.
Don't we have to kiss someone's ring here? They're bigger trading partners. They're bigger economies than we are. I mean, we have to play our part here.
$900 billion is $900 billion, no matter which way you're looking at it. Yeah, of course, they're huge trading partners. Guess what? So are we. And unless Trump turns around and loses it completely and orders an invasion of Canada, we have what they need, and we, quite frankly, for the time being, control it. Well, so let's stop talking as if, we're here and we have to put our hats in our hands. The U.S. is dependent upon us for a lot of raw materials, for a lot of items that are essential to the economies of a lot of border states and within the United States of America, the same way the U.S. is, to a certain extent, dependent on Mexico. To turn around and say, Donald Trump is the king of North America, and that Donald Trump is going to be dictating. No, he's not. In fact, as I told you last week, there are some members of Donald Trump's own entourage who are basically ready to jump off a bridge because this guy may be well on the way to blowing up the North American economy based on I want to stop fentanyl from coming in across the borders. I've heard so many explanations as to what he's actually up to. He wants to have a win on the whole fentanyl thing, as if that was going to be an issue in the campaign. I never heard about it's a big issue, of course, the idea of addiction in North America, whether it's in the U.S. or Canada, but this idea that suddenly Donald Trump needs this trophy to wave around. Yes, I wrestled the fentanyl beast down, and look at me. No, this is not going to happen, and I guarantee you in a month we'll be talking about something else entirely. The guy is still the same guy we saw during the campaign. And to suggest all of a sudden that, Justin got on the plane on Friday evening and flew down that night and had dinner and came back to Canada the next morning with nothing in particular, nothing he can go into detail on. In fact, nothing he can say. But, man, what a great selfie he got. Give me a break, Aaron. This is not the guy we need at the moment. I'm not saying this, and as for our listeners who, why is he campaigning for Pierre Poilievre? No, Pierre Poilievre is even worse, okay? But here's the problem. We have no one competent to deal with Donald Trump. And we saw that, as far as I'm concerned, in spades on Friday night at Mar-a-Lago.
But Jim, we don't know what we're dealing with, right? If you assume this is Donald Trump and a lot of what he says is bluster to begin with, then that's okay. Play the guy out. Let's see what happens. But
okay. Well, you know what?
I'm okay with that.
Keep your cards close, Alan. Okay, you want to go into that analogy? Keep your cards close. Bet the guy. Don't raise him, but let's see what exactly he has, what cards he has in his hands. Because he could change his statement next week. But in the meantime, don't run around going, look at me, I'm here at Mar-a-Lago. Look how I'm the first G7 member. Be very careful with that, because that could be part of another sentence that says, after that Canada got screwed over by Donald Trump, despite the fact that Justin Trudeau was the first member of the G7 to meet with him after his election, please.
So no points. Okay, that's fine. We can just okay.
I'm just telling you, if you in your last half hour had been able to say, well, thank you, Carl, at least we know what we got out of that meeting. We have no idea what we got out of that meeting. As far as I'm concerned, we got nothing out of that meeting except another you can laminate if you want, selfie of Justin Trudeau sitting at a table at Mar-a-Lago with Donald freaking Trump.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. I want to ask you just really quickly, the last thing we talked about with Colton Prale, this idea that today the Conservatives who had a chance to bring up a non-confidence motion chose not to bring one up. We are basically treading water, doing nothing in the House of Commons, and it's been this way for almost 2 months now. What's going on? What do you think is happening here?
What I think is happening, well, I'll tell you what I think isn't happening. I think the Conservative caucus is not taking Pierre Poilievre, putting him in an escape pod and blowing him off the airlock. Because quite frankly, he's making this party, this so-called Conservative Party, look even more incompetent, inept, and quite frankly, irrelevant every single day. It is just a slogan, and apparently a slogan that doesn't mean anything.
Not helping Liberals in terms of popularity. It's funny, though, because if that's the case, Jim, the Conservatives continue to maintain that lead. You kind of wonder when those numbers start to change, if ever.
Well, you know what? The first thing has to happen is an election has to be called. But honest to God, Aaron, and you, as I said, you mentioned that in the last half hour. It's a very strange times in Paul. It is. When you figure that the number one choice, whether it's federally or with Trudeau or provincially with Legault, the number one choice of voters is none of the above. We are in huge trouble.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it is, though. That's where we stand. Jim, thank you so much. Appreciate it.